Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we're gonna talk about Spanish nouns that you never remember if they're a guy or a girl. So we know that the Spanish nouns are different than English ones because all the Spanish nouns have a gender while the English nouns don't have a gender. So when we speak English, we just say a home, a house, a man, a woman, the book, the flower. But in Spanish, the or the in front of the noun has to match with the gender of the noun. It's sort of like if you're a girl, you go to the ladies' room, and if you're a guy, you go to the men's room. And you do not want to get that wrong. El and la are equivalent to the English definite article, and the general rules are if a noun ends with an O, then it's a masculine, and you have to use el in front of it. And if the noun ends with an a, then it is a feminine, and you have to use a la in front of the noun. My guess is you are being tortured as much as me by the Spanish nouns that you never remember if it is a masculine or a feminine. It's like this brain never retains information. 50% of the time I got it wrong. So I've organized some notes based on my grammar book and also my little research online, and it seems that there are some teeny rules that might apply. So this is a long list of irregular nouns that are frequently used, and I have categorized them into different groups based on their patterns, but be very careful that these are just patterns that can help us better remember these special ones. This is not a pattern for all the nouns, so don't get me wrong on this. For example, let's take a look at the first group of irregular masculines. So in this group, all these irregulars end with MA, but it doesn't mean that all nouns ending with an MA are masculines, because most nouns do follow the general rules. For example, la cama, la crema, they are all regular feminine nouns that end with MA. So long as we're clear on that, let's move on to the second group. Nouns that end with AJE, AJE, el viaje, el paisaje, el pasaje, el equipaje, el montaje, el salvaje, el maquillaje, el mensaje, el personaje. And the third group, those end in OR, or el amor, el calor, el color, el dolor, el sudor, el rumor, el sabor. This last group doesn't really have much rules to follow in my opinion, so I'll just list them here for reference because these are very common nouns. El sofá, el cine, el estante, el ambiente, el perfume, el examen, el lápiz, el mes, el mapa, el reloj. The last one, el paraguas. So for this word, its singular form and plural form are the same, and you only need to change the article in the plural form. The singular form is el paraguas, but the plural form is los paraguas. And the same works for the weekdays as well. And now let's take a look at the irregular feminines. So I think the first group is pretty easy, and you probably all know it already. Nouns that end with VION or SION, so I'll only put two examples here to illustrate. And for the second group, you probably have noticed the rules as you study Spanish. Nouns that end with DAD, TAD, and TUD. For the third group, nouns ending with an E really can be both, and you'll just have to memorize it. And these are the nouns that end with an E fall under this category: la fiebre, la sangre, la serpiente, la nieve, la clase, la mente, la especie, la serie. And lastly, three words end with an L: la miel, la piel, y la sal. And then comes the last group, where I simply find no rules at all: la crisis, la dosis, la mano, la nariz, la foto, la moto, y la dere. One thing worth mentioning though is that the last three nouns are feminine because these three words are only abbreviations, and their complete form does actually follow the general rules: fotografía, motocicleta, televisión. And now let's look at some exciting stuff. For feminine nouns that begin with a stressed a or HA, they use el as article instead of la, even if they are feminine nouns. But because they're still feminine, so the adjectives that goes with the noun, it's still feminine. For example, el agua fría, el arma peligrosa. You don't say el agua frío. You have to keep the feminine form of the adjective. But keep in mind that the article here changes only for the purpose of pronunciation, which means that when you use the plural form, you have to use its original gender. You have to use las for all these words: las almas, las águilas, because they are feminine by nature. But be very careful that not all the nouns that start with an a is a feminine noun. For example, el árbol. Árbol itself is a masculine noun. I just want to point this out in case you get too used to this and you forget about the general rules. El árbol alto, masculine. And number 2 are nouns that are professions or nouns that are used to describe like a certain group of people. And for nouns under this category, you only need to change the article to indicate the gender of the subject, if it's a man or if it's a woman. So let's take a look. For example, atleta, it means athlete. So if it's a female athlete, you say la atleta. But if it's a male athlete, you say el atleta. Or gerente means manager. If it's a male manager, you say el gerente. But if it's a female manager, you say la gerente. You don't need to change the form of the noun to indicate if the subject is a man or a woman. And same goes with the second group. For example, if it's a young guy, then it's el joven. If it's a young girl, then it's la joven. And now let's take a look at the third group. Nouns in this group are also used to describe a certain type of people or certain professions. But these nouns normally end with like or N or something like this. We all know that if the professor is a man, then it's el profesor. If it's a woman, then it's la profesora. And the same rules can apply for nouns like director, pintor. And for the fourth group, it's sort of like the second group, but not the same. And for these nouns, for example, la estrella, the star, it is feminine itself. And you should always use the article la in front of estrella. So where you need to pay attention to is that if a guy is a star, you still say tu novio es la estrella de este espectáculo. You don't say tu novio es el estrella. It's always la estrella. It doesn't matter who is the star. Same goes with víctima. It doesn't matter if the victim is a man or it's a woman, it's always la víctima. And same goes with ángel. Ángel is a masculine, and it's always el ángel. So even if it's tu amiga is a woman, you still say tu amiga es un ángel. You don't say es una ángela. And the last interesting group is that for these nouns, the meaning of the noun changes as the change of the article. For example, el capital, when it's a masculine word, it means money, capital. But when you say la capital, it's a feminine noun, and the meaning of it changes to the capital city. The second one is frente. So when it is masculine, it means front. For example, el frente de la casa está adornado. The front of the house is decorated. But when you put la in front of it, the meaning of frente changes into forehead. For example, las arrugas de la frente, the wrinkles on the forehead. And another common word is orden. When it is a masculine noun, it means order in a sequence. And here I put down a phrase, mantener el orden, to keep the order. But when you say la orden, it's a command. For example, el soldado recibió la orden de disparar. So when you see or use nouns like this, you have to pay special attention to the article that goes in front of it, because with a different article, it means a different thing. Well, I guess this is pretty much for today. I hope what I've shared here is helpful for you guys. If you have any question or want to discuss anything, please leave a comment down below. And have fun studying Spanish. Stay tuned and see you in the next one. Bye.